Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Perspective. Of course, it's the 10th of Muharram. Today we'll be talking about the significance of 10th of Muharram, what it means to us as Muslims, what it means to us across the world, the sacrifices and the courage, the bravery of Imam Hussain, and the way that he stood up to tyranny is unparalleled in history. We'll be talking a little bit about that. We have with us Professor Dr. Muhammad Haq, who is a religious scholar, also DG Islamic Research Institute of Islamic University, Islamabad. Thank you for being with us. Professor, like I said, the sacrifices of the Imam, the Prophet's family, are very close to our heart, and I think we all live by them. We all, every 10th of Muharram, of course, brings it closer what happened. In your opinion, the significance of this very, very important day, the courage with which his family, the Imam, the women, the children fought against tyranny, the significance of it to today in our lives. Could you elucidate on that a little bit?
Yes, thank you very much. Indeed, this is an opportunity to talk about what is the relevance of the message of sacrifices that had been rendered by Hazrat Imam Hussain and his family. There are several messages, and we just not remember this historical event for the sake of remembrance, but we must learn from this event. There are several messages. First of all, this sacrification is indicating commitment and sincerity with the faith and with the right cause. And secondly, this incident is telling us that we have to look upon our weaknesses and divisions and fractions within the society, because no doubt this was a great sacrification from Imam Hussain and his family, but it could have been much better if this incident has not been in the history of Islam. So this is a part of Islamic history, and in my opinion, an important lesson that we can learn from this is that we should look into our weaknesses, our differences, and our strengths, and we should strive for a way forward that would be suggesting for us peaceful, prosperous, and stable society without sectarianism, without hate speech. I would like to mention here that Imam Hussain is not the Imam of a particular group or a particular sect. He is Imam, and his sacrification is for all Muslims, but I will say for all the human beings. And the lesson is for all human beings. So we must learn that this incident should not be used for further division in the society, for further spreading of hate speech in the society. We should remember their sacrifice, but we should be committed that we will not let happen such type of events again in our society.
Professor Saab, tolerance, you yourself are mentioning, I think is a huge part of the struggle itself. But at the same time, standing up to tyranny, I think one of the tenets of the struggle itself, of the Imam. Do you think that, that itself, the voice within our own hearts, the voice within our own heads, that navigates us as Muslims to what is right and what is wrong, I think it's also very important to have that navigation there, and I think the struggle itself also talks about that, reeks of that, does it not?
Yeah, I agree. But we have to learn from the life of Imam that the violence that was committed against Imam Hussein and his companions, his family members, it was not responded with violence. Imam Hussein committed non-violently. He stands for his commitment and for his opinion non-violently. So we can resist, we can be resilient without going towards the violence. There should not be any place for violence. We must learn that there is a difference between going towards the violence and standing for a certain opinion. We must stand for our opinion. We must express our desires, our legal rights, but not in a violent way. And Imam Hussein's sacrification are not only telling us, teaching us tolerance, but also telling us what is the right way of struggling and what is the appropriate method of resilience.
Overall, this struggle was, about what had happened. The kind of violence we saw, of course, perpetrated to children, to women, and the way that they stood shoulder to shoulder with the Imam in this struggle is also, I guess, how would you say, about inclusiveness, about, women today and their role and how much they can contribute to our everyday struggles against, what's happening, the negative in our society, the evil in our society. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. I think a lesson for Muslims is that even if they are in conflict with each other, they must learn that women and children should not be the victim of the conflict. In any case, particularly in political differences, we should not target children and women of the opposite group. And unfortunately, we have this tendency when we would like to blame someone, when we would like to attack someone. We are not attacking on him, but we start attacking his family, his children, his relative women. So these tendencies are un-Islamic, and one of the evidence of this un-Islamic tendency is the sacrification of Imam Hussein. So we must learn. I again stress that we cannot change the history, but history can change us for the future. So from this historical event and this historical sacrification of Imam Hussein, we must learn that we have to think about our way forward. What is happening in our society, the disturbance that we are seeing in our society, this disturbance, hatred, tension, divide, political and sectarian divide, ethnic divide, all are the result of our own acts. And we have to take care of our society. We have to take care of our future and our coming generations. What we have suffered, what our elders have suffered, it should not be repeated for our coming generation. And everyone, every religious leader and every community leader must learn that we have to realize what are our mistakes, and whatever has been lost by us is due to our own mistakes. We must learn it, we must acknowledge it, and this is the way forward for the Muslim community, particularly for Pakistan. उजाड़ मौसम में रेत धरती पे फसल बोई थी चांद की, अब उसमें उगने लगे अंधेरे.
Professor, thank you so much for your very valuable time on this very, very important topic. What it means, what the 10th of Muharram means to us today. We'll be taking a short break, after which we'll be right back. Please stay with us. Welcome back. We're going to talk about 10 years of CPEC. Of course, you know, a huge initiative for Pakistan, what it means for us. Of course, in light of the visit of the Vice Premier of China, soon to come, we'll be talking about the ramifications of CPEC itself, the envisaging of the kind of what it would mean for us, the game changer that it has always been called, and what can we expect now, of course, now that it's been 10 years, and what it will mean for us in the next couple of years. We'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about, of course, Pakistan harnessing its important geostrategic location into geo-economic gains and other regional economic integration, which is what CPEC envisages. And a little bit more about what it means about people-to-people contact, what it means in terms of the economic zones there, overall, the kind of changes we can expect in the next couple of years, particularly as far as Pakistan-China is concerned, and overall our geostrategic position. And with our neighbors other than China also, will it have potential ramifications? All of that today. I have with me Mustafa Hyder Sayed, who's Executive Director, PCI. Thank you so much for being with us today. We also have with us Shakeel Ramay, who's a Senior Economist, Analyst. Thank you so much for joining us today. Gee, Mustafa, like I said, you know, 10 years of CPEC, what it means and has meant, you know, what we envisaged it to be. How would you say, what have we achieved in the last 10 years, first of all?
It's a great question, Mahrukh. Thank you very much for having me, and Assalamu alaikum. Initially, I want to give you a context because I just returned from Beijing, where the 10 years anniversary of the Belt and Road was celebrated. And in fact, I had the privilege of being with the man who led CPEC from China, Mr. Ning Zi, who was the Vice Chairman of the National Development Reform Commission in 2014 when President Xi and Premier Li Keqiang signed the MOU of CPEC. And he was the one who signed it and was the main focal person along with the planning minister from Pakistan. So we celebrated this. CPEC's 10-year anniversary is directly dovetailed with the 10-year anniversary of the Belt and Road Initiative, of which of course CPEC is the flagship project. And even in this conference, which was hosted by the China Investment Fund, China Investment Corporation, which is the sovereign wealth fund of China, and a very important arm of the state, Pakistan was discussed at great length. And I think that Pakistan has overall, as much as a developing country in the global south can, delivered very successfully the fruits and dividends of CPEC, despite our internal political turmoil, you know, changes of important individuals with the departments that were handling China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. And I think the primary tangible items, the big ticket items, were the energy projects, which actually resolved Pakistan's energy crisis, and which we can see on the ground, and which has employed thousands and thousands of engineers and also semi-skilled and unskilled workers in Pakistan. And then of course, if you look at Gwadar before 2014 or before 2013 and now, there's a huge difference. And just I think day before yesterday, the Prime Minister inaugurated the airport where an A380 can land, which no Pakistani airport has the capacity of taking the biggest aircraft in aviation today. And the third most important thing is, Mahrukh, CPEC put Pakistan back on the radar. It gave us a geo-economic relevance again, after which we saw some Middle Eastern countries coming to Pakistan, and we came back as a relevant player. If you remember, I remember the headline of Newsweek just before CPEC, I think 2012 or 2011, the most dangerous country in the world is not Iraq, it is Pakistan. And it was at that time when no one was willing to come to Pakistan, and we had a lot of terrorism, if you remember, if you rewind back to that time. China decided to go all in and choose to start the Belt and Road Initiative from Pakistan. However, one thing I think which is the opportunity, I don't think one should cry over spilt milk. I think where I would have liked more to have happened is, and where we discussed the Great Land in Beijing as well, is
Okay.
industrial cooperation.
Okay, let me come back on that. I'm going to go to Shakeel Sab. Shakeel Sab, Mustafa is talking about progress. He's talking about the fact that, of course, it made us relevant at a time when we were perhaps at an all-time low. That, as it may be, how would you say, in terms of the progress as far as CPEC is concerned in the last 10 years, considering the tumultuous time in the middle that we've had also, overall, we've had a time of political upheaval now and then. How would you rate it overall?
Thank you, Mahrukh. I think we can see it with two lenses. One, the part are the programs which have been delivered by China and from the Pakistani, other lens from the Pakistani side. If you look, China has delivered what they have promised.
Right.
Even during the COVID-19, when the whole world came to stand still, it was the CPEC projects which were going on. There is CPEC projects which were providing the job opportunities to the thousands of Pakistani. Again, second thing, it helped us to enhance our per capita energy consumption from 447 to the 657. It helped us to bring back the industry on the track. So third, Gwadar Port, the dream of the connectivity, hub of connectivity, started to realize. So these are few things. Then we look at a Chinese company, what they were doing during these periods. Chinese company not only contributed in these projects, but also in the social development of Pakistan. The two areas very important, 2 or 3 areas. Number one, they invested on the skill development and the capacity building. If you look at all the power projects, they trained and they built their capacity of thousands of engineers and their other workers. Then if you look at State Grid Corporation, which was responsible for transmission line from Hyder to Lahore, they invested on the 5,000 employees to build their capacity. And the second part is education.
Right.
If you look in the Gwadar, in the one of the remote areas that they have established a school and skill development center, then they also invested on the environment. Now coming back to Pakistani side, Pakistani side remained more time committed to the rhetoric. We started to play the credit game. Every government who came into the power, they claim the CPEC is due to them. The real problems are still there, which we needed to fix.
Okay,
As the Mustafa wanted to talk about the industrialization process, why it could not get started. The simple reason are there 3 or 4 reasons. Number one, we lack the chain of command. Second, lip service.
Realization, let me come back to you on that. I'm going to go to Dr. Talat Shabbir. He's Director, China-Pakistan Study Institute at ISSI. Thank you for being with us. Talat sir, okay, the realization of the goals as, we wanted as far as the CPEC is concerned. How far are we in that? Of course, like we're discussing, there are issues we can perhaps do better. There's no denying that we can work on issues like industrialization, for example, where we feel perhaps we're not doing as well as we could have been. But overall, how would you rate the progress so far?
Thank you very much for having me on your program. I think when we talk of CPEC today, and when we are into celebrating CPEC 10 years, I think there's a need to do some kind of introspection too on what we did and how we actually carried out what was decided when we began to execute various projects of CPEC. By and large, I think we should not be very disappointed. By and large, we are on track, despite COVID-19 and besides other factors, economic factors, which actually negatively impacted CPEC. But by and large, we were on the track. Now, as Shakeel Ramay has rightly mentioned, that the part China was to play, they played their part very well, and of course, naturally, the part Pakistan was to play. We really needed our capacity building in that part, and we have not been able to perform as we decided when we began this project. Now, when we talk of the first two components of CPEC, that means infrastructure and energy. So there's huge development that we can account for. But as far as industrialization is concerned, I think we have not been able to even kickstart, pick up a pace. And because, in my sense, the whole sense of CPEC or whole benefit of CPEC that we expect will come from industrialization. because that is where we expected a lot of our export to grow, a lot of our industries to revive, a lot of Chinese industries to relocate in Pakistan, and a lot of job opportunities for our people. A lot is actually pinned with the industrialization phase of CPEC, in which I think we have some lacking. And off late, as mentioned, Gwadar Airport is being inaugurated, and it is one of the biggest airport in Asia. But I always say that infrastructure, connectivity, roads, airports, rail, maybe is right. You require this for economic development.
Right,
but
infrastructure.
But Gwadar has to make a sense of business. It has to make business sense. We need to work on that in order for Gwadar to develop and CPEC to progress. I think with the visit of a very senior official from China, and since I've just recently come back from China, I've seen there's a lot of enthusiasm. We also need to show some enthusiasm to carry out this project, because it is our project, and Pakistan needs to do some kind of capacity building on war footing in order for this project to move forward. Otherwise, I think Chinese are doing great job. They have helped us. They have been helping us since 2013. But we need to do very serious thinking on how can we take this project forward.
We'll come back to you on that. I also have with me Shazia Anwer cheema, who's an IR expert. Shazia, as far as we're talking about the pace of it, we're talking about issues as far as CPEC is concerned. But this visit of the Vice Premier of China, how would you look at this, and what do you think that the significance of it? Of course, the 10 years, of course, it's very close, not only to our hearts but also to the Chinese. But do you think that it's going to fuel perhaps more importance as far as CPEC overall is concerned? How do you look at that?
As the speakers are mentioning, that this visit is very very significant, but in my opinion, its significance is much of a global significance. It's true that CPEC is the flagship project of BRI, and it's true that it has the regional political significance, but we cannot ignore that the decisions are more of global strategically based. So China needs CPEC, and CPEC is the only road link for China to the Gulf or the Indian Ocean. And it has a huge global significance for China, for China's future. So, and this visit is also very significant. And we must not forget that these past 10 years, we have seen a lot. We have seen CPEC at halt. We have seen some problems between our previous government and the CPEC the project. So we must not ignore. This is not the day to discuss all these things, but we must not ignore the fact that CPEC is very important for China and for Pakistan, and its importance and its significance is much more global than regional. And that's why there are global powers involved to halt it, to harm it, to stop it. So we must keep these things in mind, and these such as the India and America's relationship. So how can we forget the twist and the angle of the timing of this relationship, and how this relationship is being nurtured past 7-8 years. So India is going to be proxy for somebody or for something, and we must be ready for that. And hopefully now we are the CPEC and this entire project is in sane hands in terms of political hands. So now we do not have this problem, because we cannot ignore Hassan Iqbal's statement.
Shazia, I'll come back to you. She's saying that, with all that it entails, there are globally, powers that we need to take stock of. We have our positives, but at the same time, there are other powers. There's no denying that. But we've been able, in the last 10 years, to make significant progress with the kind of, challenges that have come even from across the border.
Firstly, I would like to emphasize that we are a lot of the times perpetuating a state of fear in our mindset and in our consciousness as Pakistanis. And we are also conspiracy theorists. That either it's Israel or India or someone out to sabotage us. Every country has challenges outside its borders. Majority, all relevant countries do. If we have some shortcomings, like my friend Shakeel has pointed out, they are because of us. And Alhamdulillah, we have a very strong security apparatus, one of the top in the world. So I don't think we should be looking internationally through a prism of fear, but it should be a prism of confidence. I think the key issues are he mentioned some of the very specific ones of lip service of some leaders, etc. But I think the main issue here is for any investor to go to any country, they want a one-stop shop. Here in Pakistan, I did the NDU year last year, and we learnt that there are over 100 NOCs that a Chinese investor, or any investor for that matter, requires from different departments. No objection certificates from provincial, federal, security agencies. So from running to pillar to post, I think these are issues that we should be addressing for the next 10 years. That should be facilitating and expediting investment. If a Chinese CEO signs an agreement with you, it should be done. It should not be delayed for 2 years, 3 years. And we saw that the power plant in Gwadar, for example, couldn't receive a tariff for over 1.5 years. This was 4 years ago and still not done. And other issues like this have happened with some projects. And my friend Talat Shabbir also mentioned about the industrialization. These are real issues. Why is it that these industrial zones do not have manufacturing units which are joint ventures between China and Pakistani companies, which should have been exporting by now and are not? And why is it that the special economic zone in ShahRukh in Cambodia, which is a country as big as Islamabad, is exporting from the SEZ of Belt and Road there? Why is it that the special economic zone built by the Chinese in Ethiopia, it is also exporting successfully, at least $300 million per year annually? And in Bangladesh, of course, they are investing in textile as well. So while we are politically and from a people-to-people perspective the closest, that is not reflected in the economic cooperation, and that is because of us, not because of anything else. It's because of our issues. So I think one is a one-stop shop. You can call it whatever, call it CPEC authority, you can give it any name, but it should be an empowered body that is able to deliver. Simple as that.
Let me go to
one thing I wanted to just add, because you mentioned about Shakeel mentioned about political parties taking credit. I think the upside to that is that it's something there is such a strong consensus on that everyone owns it.
That's true, but
whether it's the left or the right, the Khaki or the Mufti.
Right.
There is a strong consensus backing it.
But they own it, yes, I agree. But Shakeel Sahab, unfortunately, this was something I think that we've had conversation on in the last government again and again, as far as that one window, which Mustafa is also mentioning, and the fact that ease of business. But unfortunately, significant inroads into that couldn't be made. We are, whether credit is due or not, there is, of course, even during the last government, as far as the Prime Minister is concerned at this time, there seems to be a resolve to ensure that. Why have we not been able to do it?
I think our political system, our governance system is the biggest hurdle at this point of time. And further, we have complicated the process by 18th Amendment. So you find number of departments for investment and trade at a federal level. Then you have the departments, as Mustafa said, 100 NOCs. So in this context, how you can establish a one window? Because everybody have its own window.
But if everybody
And if-
agrees, and if there is unanimous agreement,
That is a credit game problem. So
Okay.
this also give birth to the blame game.
Hmm.
Whenever I am in a part and the power, all is good. When I am not in the power, all is bad. So in this context, that's why most of the time I'm very open on that. I don't like democracy at all, because it start with the division of the society and division of the thoughts.
But
you are
Shakeel,
striving for the one purpose, then why not you can strive for one purpose with the one party?
but democracy or no democracy, I think that one would, let me go to Dr. Talat on this also. The question, no, but the question is whether democracy or not democracy, if you talk about and everyone being on one page as far as CPEC is concerned, I don't think it's wrong to say that there is by and large agreement of how integral it is, not only to China but also to Pakistan. Ji, Talat Sahab?
I think Shakeel is right to an extent that when you divide, people, you then divide, their interests and their credits and all that. But one thing is, I think, what's more important, and you are also pointing towards that, is the institution. Basically, there has to be an institution which should coordinate and all empowered, as Mustafa said, all empowered institution which coordinates the all the affairs of CPEC. Like he mentioned about a power plant in Gwadar. I was also witness to it. Chinese ambassador himself was actually striving to get that piece of paper which could allow Chinese to work on the power plant, and there was some tariff problem coming up. Now look at this system where highest official living in Pakistan from China is trying to get it, and he is unable to manage it. And he used to embarrass us in various official meetings about it. Now we need to actually, if we want to see any progress on CPEC, we'll have to create an institution. That may be CPEC authority, that may be anything, but that institution should coordinate all what is about CPEC 1. Now, in the system we talk about China, and there's a great deal of difference between the system that we follow and systems Chinese follow. Now, the system in China is an aggressive implementation system. And in Pakistan, you have hurdles, you have problems, you have critical leanings, you have, there's a host of issues that actually stop anybody who is want to efficiently work, and he or she can't work on this. Now, I think we need to revisit the system also, which actually drives all the projects of CPEC. Now, why is not this industrialization not happening? Because there are stakeholders. When you form an institution, a strong institution, which should drive all the affairs of CPEC, then there are no vested interests. Institution has to make sure that whatever is the hurdle, whatever the impediment or challenge in the way of carrying on various projects of CPEC, it must be dealt under one roof and must be dealt very aggressively and judiciously. So I think we have to devise a system. We'll have to revisit what system we have in our country. Now look at one thing I would particularly mention about getting FDIs, attracting investment in Pakistan, attracting people to come to the special economic zone. They will not come because there are two most important things. One is ease of doing business, and then there's a cost of doing business. Now, there is, we need to work a lot on ease of doing business, and of course, we need to do a lot on cost of doing business. Look at the cost of land in special economic zone which are proposed in the CPEC project. They are not the lands are not being sold, are bought on the they are bought on the real estate prices. So it becomes hugely difficult for any investor to come and first of all buy a land too expensive and then build a factory or build a industry. So I think there are not many problems.
So you're saying that it has to be on all levels. Ji Shakeel Sahab.
I spoke about a system where my success is dependent on your failure. So how I will let you be successful? So this whole system we're living, so my success is dependent on your failure. So we have to take out that spirit.
You're saying it has to be a systematic change overall.
Yes, then otherwise we can talk. We will be in circle,
Right, fair
moving in
enough.
the circles.
Shazia, as far as the next 10 years, for example, you know, we've okay, you know, there are hurdles, but I think by and large we agree that there has been significant progress even with the conditions that we have and we exist in. How do you see the next 10 years as far as CPEC is concerned, you know, again, with the challenges and of course the broad-based agreement that there is, how integral it is to Pakistan, and of course our relationship with China in the background of, you know, the recent economic changes also. Of course, China has come out, you know, quite clearly as a friend and time and again. This is not just recent. So how would you overall look at that?
As always, there are two ways of seeing a thing. So one could be like being in your willful bubble and discussing the aspects like a thing has just positive aspects and we are the total and only beneficiary of this incident. So I'm of the second type of person. I want it more comfortable to have the reality check of the things. So I'm very hopeful for the next 10 years, and if CPEC could have survived previous 10 years, I'm sure that it can survive many 10 years. But again, I categorically deny that CPEC is an economic project, and we are the only beneficiary of that. And I categorically admit that CPEC is a political move, and we are not the only beneficiary of that political move. And it is a political move, so, and the economy is the byproduct of that move. We have a very good cordial relation with China, and we will continue having that relationship. But having said that, why we are so hesitant to admit that China needs us, and why we are so hesitant to admit that China knows that Malacca Strait can be choked at any time, at any point. So China needs her to be in the Indo-Pacific. Why we want to just, you know, the CPEC and the economy, CPEC and the economy.
Whether it's political or economic, the point it is does it not have huge economic benefits for Pakistan, and whether it has those for China or not, is it you know, do we have to just focus on that? I mean, for us, let me come back to you, Ji Mustafa, I'll let you answer that.
जी देखिए वो कहते हैं कि चादर देख के पाँव फैलाओ, उर्दू का मुहावरा था. We should know where we stand in the world right now. ठीक है ना जी? Right now, our
but does it not have
एक चीज मैं जरा complete.
Right.
$3 billion कितना था रमेश साहब? IMF से भी how much did we get?
1 billion. We were talking about 1 billion. Then they make the 3 billion for the
$3
short
billion.
term.
He talked about Chinese companies. Sir, one Chinese company's total annual turnover, Power China, China 3 Gorges, is $15-20 billion.
Okay.
So this is, we should know where we are and who we are and who we are dealing with. China right now is investing and trading with the world. Even apart from ASEAN, the biggest trade partner of ASEAN is China. China is also the biggest trade partner of Germany now. So we definitely are benefiting from China, and China is also benefiting. It's a mutual interest.
Right, exactly.
This is how relationships are between states. This is not any shocking revelation. Interstate relations are based on interests.
Right.
And but the fact that China has been consistently supporting us steadfastly at a time when there was no one with us, it shows that we have been given oxygen because of our relationship with China.
Fair enough.
And we were on oxygen, and we have to admit that we were on oxygen. With
and how integral it was.
And how integral it was, and it continues to be.
Ji Shakeel sir.
I just want to add, China never said this is one-sided program. If you look at the all documents, speeches of Chinese leadership, they say win-win cooperation. So if there anybody have the misconception like this is a charity program, something like that, no. It is economic program with economic rationale with the principle of win-win cooperation. One thing, second thing, every country need every other country.
Right, of course.
And no country is at the strategic location.
You can't be mutually exclusive. There is regional cooperation is needed. You know, we need geostrategic partnerships.
So there's nothing wrong with that.
When we have a hostile neighbor next door, I mean, all of those are realities.
Not hostile. I just can prove you, US will never support us against China. They will their prime supporter would be India. So they are supporting India. They will support India. Whatever we do.
But the visit particularly, we are running out of time. The visit that is just scheduled day after tomorrow, how would you look at that? How would you look at the significance of it? Of course, again, it shows how important it is to the Chinese also, the project itself, and the fact that they expect it to make significant inroads under the new leadership, whenever that happens, and the importance of it to the current leadership.
When the President Xi Jinping came to Pakistan, he said, I feel I have come to my brother's home. So CPEC is the only project where the top leadership is going to celebrate the 10th year. Maybe later on they do something, but right now. So this is of importance for China. One thing, second thing. China has opened all the avenues for the cooperation. Now it is to ourselves how much we can plan and how much we can absorb. If we are able, our absorption capacity will be more, we can get more. And if we still waste the time in talking, blaming each other like this is my project, no, this is my project, then we will be in difficult situation.
Right, on that note, unfortunately, that's all the time that I have. Thank you so much for being with us. Mustafa Hyder Sayyid, thank you for joining us. Shakeel Ahmed Ramay Saab, thank you for being with us. Shazia Anwer Cheema, thank you for your time. Dr. Talat Shabbir, thank you for taking out time for us. Overall, of course, the visit is scheduled day after tomorrow. It shows the importance of the project itself, not only to us, but also to the Chinese. Again, the fact that it's important for us, the fact that it has significantly changed things as far as economy is concerned and is expected to do so in the next 10 years. The resolve of the government, the resolve of all stakeholders to ensure that it is a success is right there. It's on the map as far as the leadership is concerned, as far as the current leadership is concerned, as far as the Prime Minister is concerned. We saw that from the Gawada visit a couple of days ago also. Overall, things seem to be on the right track, and we're hopeful that this project will be the kind of game changer that it is envisaged to be. Thank you so much for joining us today on Perspective.